Hi, my name is Daniel Hedgeland, and I'm a senior planner with the Long Range Planning Team at the City of Indianapolis. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about an important tool for city planning, zoning. So what is zoning? It's one of the primary tools for cities to regulate the built environment. Built environment is a term that we use a lot in city planning. It sounds fancy, but it basically means anything that is man-made. Examples of the built environment shown in this slide include buildings, sidewalks, and roads. In our previous lesson, Brittany discussed the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan and zoning work together. The comprehensive plan lets us plan for the future. Zoning allows us to act on those plans. We could spend hours talking about zoning, but fundamentally, zoning in Indianapolis can be broken into two parts: the zoning map and what's called the zoning ordinance. When most people think of planning departments, they'll often think of a zoning map. It divides the entire county into districts, often displayed in different colors for different districts. It looks a little bit like the map on this slide. In Indianapolis, there are over 30 different zoning districts for residential, commercial, industrial, and mixed-use activities. Though there are some rules that are consistent across the entire county, each district will have its own set of rules and regulations. That's because Indianapolis has lots of different places with different needs. Historically, there was a physical, official zoning map that you could go and see. And some cities may still use a paper map. However, in Indianapolis, we currently keep an electronic copy of the map that you can find online at indy.gov. When I say the word zoning ordinance, I often see non-planners get a little nervous and fidgety. It sounds very technical and a little scary. Rather than jumping straight into the word zoning ordinance, it's sometimes easier to think about it as the rules for the city. These rules are about 700 pages in length, and they talk all about what kind of development can and can't occur in Indianapolis. In particular, it talks about what is allowed and what isn't allowed in zoning districts. It also includes rules on what buildings and some landscaping should look like. Additionally, the zoning ordinance regulates special circumstances like floodplains. So there are over 700 pages within the zoning ordinance. What does it cover? This is a pretty simple drawing of what a new building in a city like Indianapolis may look like. The zoning ordinance covers a lot of things in this drawings. This is a store. A zoning district will dictate whether stores or other commercial uses are allowed. The zoning district has rules about the size and location of the building. For example, a zoning district may have rules on the maximum height of a building and the distance of the building from the street. The zoning ordinance has rules requiring sidewalks. The zoning ordinance has rules for the parking lot, including the minimum and maximum number of spaces. Handicap spaces are also required. Additionally, the zoning ordinance requires landscaping in many parking lots. The bike parking, this is also included in the zoning ordinance. And speaking of that, the zoning ordinance includes requirements for landscaping in some zoning districts. This includes the trees in this drawing, known as street trees. This is to make sure that the trees are planted and that these trees can thrive in our climate and that invasive species are discouraged. Finally, the zoning ordinance includes rules for signs, including the allowed location of signs, the type of signs, and whether they can be lighted or electronic. A lot of these rules seem intuitive, but putting them in place can have dramatic consequences. These two drawings show different ways that the same store could be developed. The left shows how the site could be designed in our current ordinance, with regulations on things we talked about in the last slide, including sidewalks, trees, parks, and signs. The right shows how it could be designed without our current rules. The drawing on the right shows what a lot of development looked like in the 1960s and 1970s when zoning rules were very limited and cars were seen as the predominant form of transportation. There are no sidewalks, there are no street trees, and signs can be placed anywhere, in addition to other features. As you can see from these two drawings, the rules that we put in place can have dramatic consequences on the places that we live. Zoning can do a lot of things to help create a sense of place. However, there are many valid criticisms of zoning, including it has been used for discriminatory and exclusionary purposes. Zoning is too rigid and it prevents innovation. For example, many people will criticize minimum standards, whether it's for parking or for landscaping, saying those minimums prevent really cool ideas from occurring. And finally, the rules work well for individual parcels, but they do not work well tying places together, and they can create places that look too similar. That's our introduction to zoning. Zoning, just like cities, often changes. In the next lesson, we're going to discuss how to change the rules, i.e. the zoning ordinance. See you there.